Each video in this mini course highlights one of the key drivers of flexible mindsets from our book, Flexible Mindsets in Schools. In this third video, we share the foundation of all of our work, trusting relationships. One of our favorite quotes from the book is, "Trusting relationships create a space where students are comfortable asking questions, making mistakes, and taking risks for learning." The ability to create a climate of trust in the classroom lies in relationships that communicate a genuine belief that students are inherently well-intentioned and, as Ross Greene says, students do well if they can. If we shift from thinking that students don't want to do what we are asking them to do, and instead see them as doing the best they can with the current skills they have, we transform our role from being a disciplinarian to being a coach or facilitator who works with students to figure out the missing pieces. When you establish an atmosphere of trust in the classroom, you help students feel secure enough to explore, take learning-related risks, and bring all of themselves to learning. As more and more zones of trust are incorporated within a school, a flexible mindsets ethos replaces the traditional fixed mentalities culture. Think back to your years in school and a teacher who helped you to want to learn more. What qualities did you like about this teacher? How did you feel in their company? What did they do or say to make you feel that way? Now think of a teacher you didn't trust, that you didn't like. What did this teacher do or say? How motivated were you to learn from this teacher? What are some of the things that you do or don't do as a professional that you can trace back to these experiences? There is a wealth of recent research that helps us to better understand what happens in the brain when students are repeatedly exposed to stress. Neuroimaging studies of the limbic system, along with measurement of the chemicals released in the brain during the learning process, reveal that a student's level of comfort has a significant impact on how information is transmitted and stored in the brain. Toxic stress can leave a student with a constant feeling like they did something wrong or that they're not good enough. This evokes a flood of negative feelings originating in the amygdala, the area of the brain that detects threats. It triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response, which in turn hijacks the prefrontal cortex and leaves us unable to think clearly. In short, the more our brains detect threats, the less we are able to learn. When children experience frustration, stress, and anxiety, their window for learning starts to close. On the flip side, when we feel safe, all of our resources, both physical and emotional, can be directed towards learning and the window for learning opens. This is why it's so important that we take the time to build trusting relationships with our students as the cornerstone of flexible mindsets. One of the reflective questions for educators from the book related to this topic is to think about what questions you can ask your students to get to know them better and find out how they are feeling. This video's Flexible Mindsets experiment that you can try right away in your classroom is about normalizing not knowing. In flexible mindset classrooms, not knowing is valued over knowing the one right answer. Ask a question about a current topic and have all students who know the answer put up their hand. Instead of asking one of those students to respond, choose one of the students who didn't put up their hand and celebrate them for not knowing the answer. Ask one of the students that didn't know some clarifying questions to find out exactly why they didn't put up their hand. Not knowing the answer right away could mean lots of different things. Clarifying questions you could ask might be, did you not put your hand up because you don't understand the question? You need more time to think about your answer? You don't know enough about this topic to answer the question? Let them know that asking clarifying questions is a strategy to help them discover what they don't know. You won't be sharing the answer to the question you posed today because the point of this experiment is to experience how identifying what we don't know is an important tool for learning. You can then let the class know that you are moving on with the lesson and that you will follow up with a response to the question tomorrow, or maybe you will choose to simply leave that question unanswered. Whatever you choose to do after you ask the clarifying questions, make sure you don't get one of the students who knows the answer to simply share it, or the whole point of the experiment will be lost. If you want to further extend the learning from this experiment and have time, you can ask some reflection following this experiment, like, what do you notice about how it feels to celebrate what we don't know in the classroom? Are you more or less likely to admit in the future when you don't know something? This experiment can help lessen the fear or anxiety students might feel about getting the wrong answer. It sends the message to students that you value not knowing because it's when we identify what we don't know that learning happens. If you ask them clarifying questions, you also get the added bonus of teaching them a strategy to figure out what they don't know. Hope you'll join us in the next video where we highlight how critical thinking, complex problem solving, and creativity, what we call the 3 C's, can act as the springboard for opening the window for learning. If you are intrigued by the ideas shared in these videos, we invite you to join the Flexible Mindsets community on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, or subscribe to our newsletter at flexiblemindsets.com. Our book, Flexible Mindsets in Schools, is available at your favorite online retailer. Writing a review after you purchase the book is one of the best ways you can help others to find our book and begin their journey of building flexible mindsets. We really appreciate your support.